we are so honored to have you on with us today because this has been one of the most touching movies that we've seen this year, and I know we're going to see a lot of it at our Critics' Choice Documentary Awards this year. And you have to be so excited to get this out in the world because it's while sometimes not easy to watch, it's going to leave an impression on every single person that watches this. So you have to be excited and pretty grateful right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is we've been working on this for 3 years and we've given it all we've got, and our dream was that people would see it and get it and it would move them. And I think we're pretty blown away that Nat Geo picked it up and that it would be seen in theaters all over the world. So this is a pretty surreal moment for us.
Yeah, man. I mean, our movies opening in theaters all over the U.S. and Canada this week. I mean, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, yeah, but such a cool thing, and you can see the care and all the work that went into it, and I know that'll be inspiring to others. Now, there's so much to get out of this, and so little time to discuss it. What are each of you hoping that people will take away from this, and someone may take something different away depending on what they've been through.
I think it's really important that people understand that the Indian residential schools are, have a death toll and are continuing to create hardship and violence and cycles of addiction and just devastation in Indigenous communities to this day. This is not just something that happened in the past. This is very much still wreaking havoc on Native communities.
I think we hope this film changes the historical record and corrects the historical record, that it helps people reimagine how the United States and Canada, all of North America, was founded. This is a foundational story of this continent and how the land was taken. And I think we also hope that people find something in themselves. This is a film that's very particular, but it's also has universal themes. There's a father-son narrative. It's about family secrets and pains and truths that we don't want to face in ourselves. And I think everyone can relate to that. So we hope that the characters on the screen inspire audiences to reckon with those things in their own lives.
Yeah, I definitely will. And like I said, I think it'll be inspiring to people also who have a story to tell, or maybe are thinking, there's more, that needs to be explored here. What advice would you both give to somebody who wants to go down this road and to be able to tell great stories and be able to get things like this out there?
I think that the history of documentary is one of, unfortunately, colonialism and imperialism. Some of the very first documentaries, like Nanook of the North, are about Indigenous peoples and position us as primitive, as people who are going to be steamrolled by modernity, as people without agency, and people who are therefore, ripe to have their story told and have their lands governed by outsiders, by white people. And, this is my very first film. I obviously have a background in storytelling as a writer and whatnot, but I really hope that this story helps the industry and people who make those kinds of decisions see the value in Indigenous stories and also the potential in Indigenous storytellers. There needs to be more stories told like this one, and we need to give more opportunities to Indigenous filmmakers.
For anyone who's trying to make these sort of things, I think that it's really important to live the story, to be patient and to take the time to really follow it through, to get under the skin of something, not to balloon in and, extract, but to really be generous and treat people with the utmost respect and integrity and create the space for them to feel like they can their stories can be honored and held very carefully and dealt with very carefully. And that takes time and a commitment to being there for those moments.
And part of being able to get this out there in the world is that sort of what we talk about on the show, kind of a success mindset. And today's a 8/8. It's a good manifestation day. And you guys definitely did it, getting it out there in the world. But I know the road to making a film like this is not easy. So what kind of things did you where did you keep in mind that kind of kept you on the right path even when things were tough?
I think that we built a really strong collaboration from the beginning of this project. I think from the moment that Em and I got into the field together and realized that we both loved sour keys, which are like this very Canadian sour gummy candy, to all the nights that we spent, on the couch talking through our documentary while we were out in the field, to, the countless days in the field filming, to the period of time where we basically lived in this very room where we're doing this interview and edited the documentary. We really built a shared vision for what this project could be. And I think that there's something really magical about the process of creation and that high that we feel as filmmakers, as creative people, when we have the opportunity to share that with other people who are equally committed, who are all in for a project, is just something that's hard to put words to sometimes, how amazing it can feel.
So good.
In terms of, roadblocks or obstacles, I think the most difficult thing for us wasn't really about access or roadblocks in the production of the film, but learning how to let go of things. We had a 5.5-hour cut that we just loved, and would have loved to share with everyone, but we had to find a way to find, the central thrust of the story and something that people could digest and really sink their teeth into, and let go of things that we love and figure out how to convey the same themes and ideas visually in just a few frames as opposed to an entire storyline. And I think that was a big lesson for us, and took a lot of iteration with our incredible editing team, Nathan Panwar and Maya Daisy Hawk, and passing scenes back and forth. And so there was huge learnings in that.
Yeah. And I know that making these things, like I said, is not always easy, but the big payoff sometimes is when you get that great shot or that great scene or that great time. And then now you have so many probably memories from the set that you'll always take with you. For each of you, what is that moment that where you're just kind of looking around going, this is exactly how I pictured it?
Wow. This is the first time we've gotten that question, and I love that question because there were so many special moments. I'm gonna name two because I can't just say one. I think one for me was it actually wasn't a moment that I pictured at all, but it was a moment that really changed things for me. It was when Charlene, who's the investigator, and also happens to be Julian's aunt, asked us to meet her in the barn and to bring Julian and to bring my camera. And in that moment, she called on Julian to take up the mantle to help tell the story. And myself and my co-cinematographer, our DP, Christopher Lamarca, we were shooting together. And it was a moment where it felt like the world broke open. It was a moment where it felt like a portal to something else had emerged. And there was an energy, a very kinetic energy that felt very special and particular to this piece. And that's, I think, the moment when I knew just how special this film would be. And I think another moment that was really kind of blew my mind, I think it's one of the penultimate scenes of the film, is when the former chief, Rick Gilbert, confronted the head of the Catholic order who abused him. And for years, we watched Rick struggle with this secret that he had been carrying his whole life. And I won't share what that is. You'll see in the film. And watching him finally decide to say it out loud, and holding the camera as his face transformed, and with pain and anguish, but also a release, to see that was all we could have hoped for in terms of a kind of climactic emotional moment, but also just transformative personally, to see someone have such courage in such a difficult moment.
Yeah, I certainly agree with them, especially on that second one. Watching the late Chief Rick Gilbert do what he did when he travels to the Vatican and confronts a representative of the Catholic order that abused him and 3 generations of his family, maybe even 4, was life-changing for me, and was actually the thing that turned me towards including my own story and my own family narrative in the documentary. There's actually a moment for me that I always go back to that's not even in the documentary, but that was really, I think, showed me how deep we were getting on the story. So there's a suicide in the documentary, and there was an entire narrative thread where we were following the family of the man who committed suicide that we ended up cutting from the documentary. But there was one morning where we knew when to get up and where to go exactly to film that man's daughter getting up and getting on the school bus. And we knew exactly the most cinematic spot to shoot the kids getting on the school bus with the Williams Lake in the background on the sugarcane reserve. You could see the town in the distance, and just to watch, you know, this little girl who lost her dad, and that was the only parent she had, get on the school bus, and to know that we had gotten close enough with her and her family, and that we knew the res well enough, and we even knew when the school buses picked kids up and all of that. You know, we knew all this so much that we could go get that shot. We didn't even end up using it, which tells you how deep we were in this community, this story. And I think, you know, that moment and remembering how it felt with M and with our director of photography, Chris, and just, you know, how we really felt like we were in this fully and under the skin of the story. You know, that's just a really special feeling. And I think the kind of creative collaboration and feeling that I personally am probably going to be chasing for the rest of my life and career.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, last thing, I can't wait to see what you guys do next, and you know, hopefully we'll see the 5.5 hour cuts at some point. But you know, until then,
Don't encourage us.
Yeah.
We will do it if you give us the money.
Well, what is it that we may see next from you, and then also how can we help with this one and spread the word, because it feels like, you know, there's a lot more that needs to be done here.
Yeah, so in terms of what can be done around the film, you know, this is the first time that a pattern of infanticide is being reported around the residential schools and at this particular residential school. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We hope that this really cracks things open for reporters and investigators around North America. The United States system was 3 times as big as the one in Canada, and yet that conversation is really just beginning. We hope the film does nothing short of correct the historical record and rewrite history. And we hope that audiences help us do that by telling people that they know, and pushing this forward and calling on the government and church to be held to account for this, and also to find something within themselves that they can relate to. We all have family secrets. We all have pain and painful memories that we need to reckon with. And we hope that you know, the bravery of our protagonists inspire people to take that up in their own lives. As far as what's next for me, Julian's going to have a much better answer to this. But as far as what's next for me is, you know, I've been making documentaries since I was 14 years old. This is a very big moment for me with my first feature. And I will be making the next one as soon as I can get started. It is, I can't say much about it yet. It is a little under wraps, but I will be coming out with a new doc in the next, you know, few years.
Good. I love that.
I'm working on a script with Erica Tremblay, the director of Fancy Dance, which is on Apple Plus right now. Great movie. And then I also have a book that's coming out next year that I'm editing right now. It's called We Survived the Night. It'll be published by Knopf in North America. It's nonfiction as well. It's about my family, myself, and our run-ins with our trickster ancestor, Coyote, who helped create or make the world.
Yes. That's wonderful. Well, so proud of both of you, and keep going with everything. We're going to tell everyone to check this out and see it in theaters if they can. And I look forward to talking to both of you again sometime soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.